Sorry, I think I lost my connection. So I just will start again. So what is the today nature of payment being made? It is covered by any of the TDS sections. On what amount it is to be deducted? What is the rate of TDS? When is to be deducted? When is to be paid to the government? Which challan to be used? Which TDS statement to be filed? Which form of TDS certificate to be issued, and when to be issued. All this we are going to learn today. So I can broadly categorize TDS in three parts. One is TDS on salary, one is TDS on foreign payments, and another is TDS on other payments. So if I consider TDS in three parts, today we will discuss only the third leg, which is called TDS on other payments. We will not discuss TDS on salary and TDS on foreign payment because that itself is another big chapter. So first, let us discuss TDS on dividend. TDS on dividend was not there earlier. It was being introduced from today only. Another thing what I would like to mention is that only for the current year, whatever tax rate we will discuss, there will be 25% rebate. Recently, it has been announced. Same has not been updated in the presentation. So please remember, whatever tax rate you can see, that will be applicable. The rate is applicable only 75% of that, and it is applicable only for the current year. So now let's start with the TDS on dividend. For the assessment year 2021, dividend income becomes taxable in the hand of recipient. Also, there is a need to deduct TDS under Section 194 at the rate of 10% on domestic dividend payouts more than rupees 5,000 per annum. So it means that in the case your company is paying dividend more than 5,000 per person, then you have to deduct TDS. In the case shareholder who don't provide PAN, then TDS rate will be 20%. And in the case you are making dividend payment to foreign persons, foreign residents, then the rate will be depend upon the respective DTA. And in the case they have an ability to provide either PAN or tax residency certificate. Following are the beneficial tax rates available in the DTA in respect of dividend income. Mauritius 5%, Singapore 10%, United Kingdom 10%, and United States of America 15%. Now we'll move to the phone. Excuse me, phone. 1 second, please. Now we'll talk about Section 194C, which is very important. It relates to TDS on payment to contractor and subcontractors. Applicable to all payers other than individuals and HUF. Applicable to individuals and HUF liable to tax audit during the preceding financial year. Payment made for carrying out any work, including supply of labor for carrying out any work in pursuance to a contract. Written as well as oral contracts are covered. No TDS if payment is made by individual HUF for personal purpose. Tax to be deducted on advance payment against the contract. So in the case you are making payment to any contractor or subcontractor, then we have to deduct TDS. What is the monetary limit? Any single payment exceed 30,000 or aggregate payment during the financial year exceed or are likely to be exceed 1 lakh. At what rate to be deduct? Payment to individual and HUF at the rate of 1%, other than individual and HUF 2%. There is no difference between contractor and subcontractor. There used to be a concept of contractor and subcontractor some 10 years back, which is no more there. Payment to transport contractor. In the case there is no TDS, so there is no PAN, then no TDS. And in the case they don't provide PAN, 20%. I request everyone to kindly mute your audio and video. What is work? Advertising, broadcasting and telecasting, carriage of goods and passenger, manufacturing of product according to specification of customer. The word any preceding the word work indicates that each and every type of work is covered. So, excuse me. So, any kind of work where you give, I think a lot of disturbance are there.
Manish, you can mute everyone.
Yes, I just try to. Okay, now it's much better. So, what is work? Work includes advertising, broadcasting and telecasting, carriage of goods as passenger, manufacturing of product. Now we have to understand the difference between contract of work versus work contract. The term work contract has a separate meaning under tax laws and cannot be equated with the term work. Contract of work is a broader term than work contract. For instance, transport contract and service contracts are contracts for carrying out work, but not all works contract. So we have to make a distinguish what is contract for sale and what is work contract. Customer specific sale is still a contract of sale. So I can give you an example that you want to give 100 watches to your customer or employees, or you want to give a water bottle to all your employees, and all that water bottle you want print your company name, or on watches you want to put your company logo. So here, even though you have given some small customization, the main purpose, what people are getting is the water bottle or the shirt, sorry, watch. So here there is no work contract, so TDS is not applicable. But I can give another example like printing of books, where paper is supplied by the customer, it is a contract of work. When paper is provided by the printing press, it is a contract of sale. Now I come to a very important reimbursement of expenses. There are instances where your vendor asks for reimbursement of expenses. So the question is that whether you should deduct TDS or not. So the answer I will give you, in the case the reimbursement is mentioned in the main invoice, then you have to deduct TDS. It's a general rule. In the case the vendor provide a separate invoice for reimbursement of expenses with the backup, then no TDS. What is mean of backup? If he say for traveling or conveyance, he provides the supporting for that 100%, then no, it is called backup. There are instances where reimbursement may be 3% or 4% of the invoice. In that case, you have to deduct TDS. The next portion we are coming GST. All the vendor invoice comes with GST. So the question is that whether to deduct TDS or not. The CBDT has clarified through circular number 23 of 2017 that if GST of service has been indicated separately in the invoice, then no tax would be deducted on GST component. So it is clear that no TDS to be required to be deducted on GST. You have to be TDS to be done on net invoice, not on gross invoice. Let's discuss few more issues. Payments made to courier agencies for carriage of goods, whether TDS is applicable. Food served by hotels, restaurants, or cafes not, whether that attract TDS. So here I would like to mention that to all participants, kindly refer circular number 715 of 1995. It is a very important circular which has 34 questions and answers. It is a FAQ released by CPTT where you get exact instance where to deduct TDS or not. So I request all participants to refer circular number 715 of 1995. It is available on the web government portal. So on courier, yes, you have to deduct TDS. In the case of hotels, if you go and eat there, no TDS. But in the case you book, suppose I book a banquet hall and I have to pay for 50 participants, then TDS required to be done. Team outing, I go with my team outing, 100 people have of my company has joined in some of the resort, then yes, TDS to be done under catering. 194C is applicable. And there is no TDS on banks for discounting bill, collection payments through check, etc. Maintenance contracts and installation charges, yes, that is being subject to TDS under section 194C. Payments to travel agents, whether payment made to airline or travel agent for booking. So we would like to mention that TDS is not applicable on travel agents. I can skip this one. Car hire charges, yes, TDS is applicable under section 194C. If you hire cab, if you hire bus, 194C, TDS to be deducted. I would like to provide now TDS on commission and brokerage. The TDS on commission and brokerage will be 5% if the amount exceeds 15,000 in a year. So if you are paying any commission on brokerage, you have to deduct TDS at the rate of 5%. I would like to skip this one and would like now focus more on TDS on rent. It is applicable to all taxpayers except individual and HUF. And in the case individual and HUF are liable for tax audit, yes, they have to deduct TDS. The rate will be for plant, machinery, and equipment 2%, for furniture, land, and building 10%. And the monetary limit is 2,40,000 in a year. So if my payment to landlord exceeds 2,40,000 a year, I have to deduct TDS. What is rent? Any payment by whatever name called under any lease, sublease, tenancy, or any other agreement for the use, land, building, land appertaining to the building, machinery or plant, equipment, furniture, or fittings, whether or not owned by the payee. So in the case you have taken any asset on rent, it may be land, building, any asset, you have to deduct TDS under section 194I. Is there any TDS on rent deposit? No, there is no TDS on any rent deposit. But in the case your deposit is being adjusted for the rent payment, then yes, TDS is applicable. And we cannot presume any notional income on deposit that I have given 10 lakh rupees as a deposit to my landlord, and on that I have to deduct any TDS, then we don't have to deduct TDS. Municipal taxes. It may be instance that municipal taxes are required to be borne by tenant, then no TDS to be done. And in the case we pay municipal taxes, other things to my landlord, then TDS to be done. And in the case I'm paying society maintenance charges, then I have to deduct TDS under section 194C, not under section 194I to my society. Advance rate, if I'm paying advance rate, TDS to be deducted. Hotels rooms. It is very important that whether TDS to be done for payment of hotels rooms, because companies have some kind of tie-up with a particular hotel and where their payment exceeds 2,40,000 in a year. So there are two kinds of arrangement may be possible with hotels. One is called rate agreement. Rate. So what is the rate agreement? That my company enter agreement with Taj groups across the country that wherever my employee or my guest they will take, the company has a fixed rate of 5,000 per night. Now the availability is not confirmed. So if my employee want to stay in Taj Mumbai, first they have to get confirmation whether they have the Taj Mumbai has the availability to provide the room or not. If they don't have the ability to provide the room, my employee cannot use that. So that is called rate contract. Another is a fixed contract. Whether a particular room in Taj Mumbai is fixed, whether somebody stayed, not stayed, we are keeping rent. In that scenario only, TDS is applicable. And in the case of rate contract, TDS should not be done. Trade fair. In the case you are making for any trade fair, please deduct TDS under section 194I. Business center agreement. Nowadays, co-working spaces are in fashion. A lot of people are using co-working spaces. So please deduct under section 194I TDS. Internet charges, we'll see later. It is coming in the professional charges. Conference hall charges. In the case food is being served to the venue, please deduct under section 194C. Now we come to the very important part, TDS from fees for professional and technical services. It is again applicable to all taxpayers, whether all companies and people who are liable for tax audit. And the TDS rate will be 10%, and for BPO and technical services, 2%. The monetary limit is 30,000 in a year. And nowadays, a new provision has been added that if any individual is making an amount of 50 lakh, even though he's not a company, he's not in business, if he's making any payment amount over and above 50 lakh for any professional services or technical services, he has to deduct TDS. Now, let's see what covers professional services. Only these are the items are covered under professional services. Legal profession, medical profession, engineering profession, architectural profession, accounting profession, technical and consulting profession, interior decorator profession, profession of information technology, company secretary, film artist, sports person, umpire, coaches, trainer, civil service, etc., etc. So these are the only people who are professional services. Any other vocation cannot be considered as professional service. Please remember. Section 194J refers to any sum paid. But again, I'll say that if separate bill of reimbursement is provided, then no required to deduct TDS. TDS to be done for royalty also. What is royalty? You must be aware that it is a right given for any license, patent, design, secret formula, imparting of any information, use of any patent. So all this, in the case I'm using for any copyright, I have to pay TDS under section 194J. Sitting fees to non-executive directors. So there are two kinds of directors in a company. One we call whole-time director or executive directors who draw salary from the company. So their TDS is covered under section 192B under the head salary. And in the case we don't have any employee agreement with the directors and we provide any amount to the directors, then TDS under section 184J to be deducted. Payment to hospitals and nursing homes. So in the case company have an arrangement with any hospital and nursing homes, then TDS will be deducted under section 184G. This is very important, software charges. It is a matter of dispute whether TDS to be done under section 184G or not on software charges. Because sometimes you buy software in CD, DVD, on which you are paying VAT or GST. So now it is very much clear that you have to deduct TDS under section 184J in the case you are buying any software. But remember, if the vendor declares that he already paid the TDS during his purchase, then no TDS required to be deducted. So in the case vendor has provided declaration that when he purchased the software, TDS has already been done, based on his declaration, no TDS to be deducted. Now I will move to section 194A, TDS on interest other than interest on securities. So in the case you will find that TDS is you are paying any interest, then you have to deduct TDS. What are the kind of arrangement you have to do? Any intercorporate deposit loan, public deposit loans, any late payment, service fee, any whatever you term as the interest, if the amount quantum the amount is more than 40,000, you have to deduct TDS at the rate of 10%. Now I come to a very interesting topic called TDS and provisions. Please note that failure to deduct TDS, I've already informed that in the case you not able to deduct TDS, then disallowance of expenditure will come. Then all these penal consequences do not will come. So all in my first slide you have informed. Also note that expenditure related to work services availed during the period should be accounted in that period only, and whether you have received the invoice or not. So suppose I received the services in the current in last year, so I have to account that expenditure only in the last year. I cannot account that expenditure in the current year, because if I do that, then same will be disallowed as prior paid expenses under section 37(1). So in the case I have not received of the invoice, I have to make provision for expense of the invoice. Now there are practical issues while making provisions. You don't know the name of the party, you don't have the exact amount, how much vendor going to charge. So all these practical problems will come. But based on some assumptions, you can create the amount. But to deduct TDS, you need the name, because when you file e-TDS return, you have to tag the name. Okay, I have recovered 10,000 rupees from a particular person, and in the e-TDS return you will assign the name and PAN. So the process is that in the case you don't know the name, you deduct TDS. Okay, and you file your e-TDS return. You file your e-TDS return incomplete. Suppose you have a TDS challan of 1 lakh rupees. You file TDS e-TDS return with 90,000 rupees. 10,000 will be kept pending. And whenever you come to know the name of the party with the PAN, then you revise your e-TDS return and update your challan in the e-TDS return. So this is the process for expenses. Now we come to the credit for TDS. Section 189 deals with, and Rule 37BA deals with credit for TDS. So whatever TDS my vendor has, my customer had deducted, when I will get the credit of that? I will only get the credit of that when I will include that income in my taxable income. I give you example. There are number of salaried people who have fixed deposit in bank. So they have two sources of income. One is active, which is salary income. Another is called passive income from interest. And there is a TDS from both salary income also and interest income also. While filing return of income, they will show that they have received salary. They don't disclose interest income, but while claiming TDS, they show both TDS on salary and TDS on interest. So now you got it. In the case income has not been offered for tax, you cannot claim respective TDS. So to claim credit for TDS, you must include respective income in your taxable income. Now, when to issue Form 16 and Form 16A? So if you deduct TDS, you have to deposit to the government, you have to file ETDS return, and then you have to issue Form 16. Form 16 relates to salary and Form 16A relates to non-salary. So Form 16 is required to be issued by 15th of June. Now, since this time the due date of TDS return is 30th June, so the respective date will be 15th of July. And Form 16A, which is other than salary, required to be issued quarterly within 30 days from the end of the quarter. And the certificate must be downloaded from the website. So you don't have to make any certificate, you don't need any software. All the certificates after you're filing your ETS return are available in the TRACES portal. You have to just download and provide to your vendor. So with this, I will end the session. I need your feedback. I will try to continue provide you more and more seminar to give you, which can provide you more update on tax knowledge. And I need your feedback. Please send me a WhatsApp message at 90089 44082 with your name and email ID. So, and also to get the copy of the presentation, today's presentation, please give me the message. I'll provide you that. Thank you. And have a good day and stay home, stay safe.